Welcome back. So far, we have made our application run into the Docker container, and also we have enabled the hot reloading of the application. So now whenever we made any changes to our application and when we save it, the changes will directly get reflected in the Postman. So in this section, let's learn how we can use the Flask small rest, which we have added as a dependency in our requirement.txt file. So let's go ahead and use this dependency. So let's get started. Okay, so for this, before we go and use the Flask small rest, let's go and create a folder. We can say that name of the folder should be resources. Okay, so now we have this resources folder. So let's go ahead and add new file. So it will be basically shop.py, and let's add another file which will be product.py. Okay, so now we have created two files, product.py and shop.py. So let's start with shop.py and let's use the Flask small rest and let's create the resources here. Okay, so to get started, so it's very simple. First of all, we need to create a blueprint. Okay, so what's a blueprint? It's basically a resource blueprint. Okay, so let's create first and you will get to know what exactly it is. So to do that, let's say blueprint is equal to blueprint. Here we'll say shops, and it will take the name of the file, then the name, and then it will take a description. Before that, let me just import the blueprint. So we can say from Flask small rest. So we're finally using our small rest package. So let's import blueprint. So I'm using this blueprint now, and here we need to pass a description. Let's say description is a keyword argument, and here we can say operations on shops. Right, so far we have created a blueprint. Okay, so we have added this. So now it's final time to add a method views. So these are the classes which each method maps to one endpoint. So here let's extend this blueprint. So now what we can say, at the rate blueprint dot route, and what we can use the route is, let's go back to the app.py and let's start from this. Let's copy this route and let's go to shop.py and let's use this. So let's create a class shop. This will basically extend our method view. So we can import it from flask.views import method view. Okay, so we'll extend this, and so when I add this method view to a class, so basically it will be associated with a particular route. Like if you go back to our app.py, let's see similar endpoints. So we have slash shop id delete shop, and we have here slash shop id get shop, right? Instead of having multiple endpoints, multiple routes, so now using this method view, I can simply say def get. Each route can have different type of HTTP methods, right? Get, post, put, and so on. So now we need to just resemble that here in the method. You can say get, so we'll have self and we'll have shop id because we are having in the path param or the URL param. So let's say pass, and then we have get and we have delete, right? So let's add another method, delete. It's the same, it will be shop id, and let's say pass. So basically we are creating two methods, get and delete. So when we hit this endpoint from the front end or from the client or from the postman, it will basically go and see if the request is a get method. If it is a get method, then it will go in this get method. If it is a delete method, then it will go to this delete. And if this post or put or any other HTTP method, then it will say not found, like it doesn't found that, right? So now let's copy our code from the earlier part. So we want the endpoint slash shop id, right? So let's copy this, okay, and let's go to our shop.py, and basically this is a get, right? So we can write here. So let's reindent it, try catch accept return. But now we don't have this shops database, right? So now we can say from db import shops. So it's pretty the same, right? So let's do the same for the delete. So I have delete shop. Let me copy all this and let me go to shop.py. Instead of this pass, let me paste it. So try del, sorry, accept. Let's reindent this, running, right? So this way we are still having the same type of methods, so it doesn't really change. Okay, and also what we can do now is we can, like, rather than having all these messages like by ourselves, so now what we can say is we can use the abort method from our Flask. So we can import from our Flask small rest. Let's use abort. So now instead of saying 404 all this, so now what I can say is, in this case we don't have to return in this case. Now we can abort and we can pass the status code 404, and then we'll have a message equal to this particular message. Okay, so let's remove this Pratap as well because we don't need anymore. So here also we can say, Okay, so this is fine because when we successfully delete this, we say shop deleted, and let's remove this also. We'll use abort. Okay, so far, so we still use the same database, the key value database, which we just added here in the db.py. So this is a dictionary, and we use a blueprint. In order to use this blueprint, we initiate this blueprint, we need to pass the name and the file name and the description. Okay, so this should be helpful when creating a documentation using Swagger. Okay, so let me close this. We don't really need this because our content is running. So in the same file, so now I can have another method view with different endpoint. For example, in this case, we have our endpoint as simply shop, right? /shop. So we have this get shops and we have this create shop, right? Let's go back to our shop.py and let's create another class. So here we can say @blueprint.route, and let's add our endpoint /shop. And here also we can say class. So these are basically for the shop. So now it's a list of shops, right? Shop list. So we'll extend the method view. And then if we go back and check our app.py, you can see we have get shop and we have create shop, so which is basically get and post, right? Our shop.py, and let's add here two methods. It should be def get, this will be self, and let me add pass for now, and let's add def post self. Let me say pass, correct? So now let's go back to our app.py and let's copy this. So let's copy this and let's edit here in the get. Should be basically return, and in the post, let's go and copy the post as well. This is basically shop data and return shop. Let's go to shop.py, and instead of this, let's add this. Make sure you indent it correctly. So now you can see we don't have this UUID and we don't have this request.js like request here. So what we can say is let's go to app.py and let's import both of them. Okay, so that should be pretty simple. Let's go to shop.py and let's import it here. So we don't really need this Flask. Let's remove this. Okay, so far we have resembled all the data, right? Also, I think it's a good time to add a validation here. So if we can say if name not in shop data, then in that case what we can say is we can abort, right? So we know how to abort. It's very simple. We'll say abort, and we'll go here and we'll say this time it's not 404, it's 400, and it's not shop not found, it's a validation error. We'll say please make sure name is included in the request, correct? And also when creating a shop, we should make sure that the shop doesn't really exist, right? So for that also we can add another validation. So let's go here and let's use a loop because you need to iterate through the shop. Let's say shop in shops dot values, and then what we'll say is if shop data of name is equal to shop name, then in that case we'll say abort again. So we're basically adding a validation here, right? So in that case we'll say shop already exists. We'll say shop already exists. Okay, so here we have checked if the name is empty in our request.json, and in that case we are saying that name is required. And also we checked if the name is already in our database. So in that case we are saying shop already exists. Okay, so we have made changes to our shop.py. So for now, let's remove all the endpoints which we are having related to the shop, because we already added those 4 endpoints, right? Shop, 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 shop. So these 4 endpoints we can remove it. So let's go ahead and let's remove. So all the other is for the product. Okay, so far we have added the resources there. So now it's time to import the blueprint which you created there, right? So we can say from resources dot, so here we have shop, we'll import, so we have blueprint as, let's say shop blueprint. Okay, and then let's import Flask small rest here. So to do that we can say from Flask small rest, let's import the API. Okay, and now what we can say here is before we run our app, we can say API is equal to, we're creating a new API. Now we can say API is equal to API, and we're going to pass app. Okay, so I don't think we need this app.run anymore. And here what we can say API dot, we can say register blueprint, and that will be basically our shop blueprint. Okay, So far, we have made changes to our shop blueprint. We have moved all the resources from this app.py to our particular resources called shop.py, and we have the resources here. Okay, so let's go and test if our application is still working. So this is shop. Let's send this. It says that Flask exception missing API parameter error. API title must be specified either as, okay, so that means I'm missing something here. So let's go to app.py. So here I need to add configurations. So let me just copy paste few of the configuration and let me just explain everything. So let me paste it here and let's go through each of them one by one. So we are saying that if there's an exception, we should get the exception from the app. And what we're saying is that the title of this API is Shops REST API. The version is v1 and we are using Open API. So this Open API is basically for documentation of our endpoint. And our Open API URL prefix is / and the UI endpoint will be basically the Swagger UI. And Open API Swagger UI URL is basically this one. So it will go and copy all this front end code from this part and it will use. Okay, so let's resave. Okay, and let's go to our Postman back and let's send. Yes, so we are still getting this shop not found, right? So it's still working. So let's go and create a shop. So it's a create shop. So make sure you change this port to 5000 back. Okay, so I've saved it and let's send. So we're able to create a shop. Let's go to get shop and let's make sure we change it back to 5000 and let's send, and we still get the critic grocery. And let's see if our product are still working. So let me use this / this shop ID. Let's create a product in a shop. Let me add this and let me send. Oh, it should be 5000. So yes, so both my methods are still working. So even my Flask REST method views are working, and also my existing endpoints are also still working. Okay, so in the next video, we will go and change our resources for this product. Okay, so we'll go through this Swagger UI also in the next section. So hope to see you there.